So, the NFL draft this year is over, and it had me thinking, who's the top players coming back for next year's draft class? So, today we're going to be going over the number one cornerback versus the number one wide receiver. Who are you taking? So first, I guess I have to state who is the number one cornerback and who is the number one receiver. So in my opinion, the number one cornerback returning in college football is Eli Ricks, a former LSU cornerback and now a current Alabama cornerback. And the number one returning wide receiver in college football is no other than Ohio State's Jaxson Njigba. Who you got, Jaxson or Eli? Comment below who you taking right now.
Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is yours. It's mine. Whose world?
Like I said, today we have our first versus for next year's college football top players. The number one corner versus the number one wide receiver. Now, for high school, Jaxson was the class of 2020. He was a 5-star. He was a 29th nationally ranked player in all of America. He was a number 5 ranked wide receiver and the 5th ranked recruit out of the state of Texas. And while in high school, Jackson's NFL comparison was Roddy White. Then moving on to Eli Ricks, who was also in the class of 2020. He was also a 5-star. He was the 14th nationally ranked player in all of America. He was the 2nd ranked cornerback and the 2nd ranked player out of the state of California. And his NFL comparison was Richard Sherman. So looking at both those guys, they both were 5-stars. I mean, Eli was ranked 14 while Jaxson was ranked 29th. But when it comes to high school, we'll say it was a draw. Both guys were 5-stars. Both guys were highly touted and highly recruited. High school profile, it's a draw. But let's move on to both guys' freshman years. Let's start off with Jaxson Njigba. Like I said, he went to Ohio State. And unfortunately for him, they had 3 future first-round draft picks in Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams, who was at Ohio State and then transferred to Alabama. But at the time of Jackson's freshman year, he was still there. So Jaxson was pretty much the 4th target, 4th on the depth chart. He had limited targets and limited opportunities to showcase his talent because he had 3 first-rounders ahead of him. But he still got a little bit of playing time and did what he could. Now, Jaxson played in 7 games as a true freshman and led Ohio State's freshmen with 10 receptions for 49 yards and 1 touchdown. His 1 touchdown was memorable as he got 1 foot down in the back of the end zone on a highlight-worthy catch in the season opener versus Nebraska. But like I said, he was a true freshman. He was behind Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jameson Williams. So his reps and targets were very limited. Now for Eli, on the other hand, his freshman year, he was named a starter for LSU. He started opposite of Derek Stingley Jr., who was also a first-round draft pick, but this didn't stop Eli from doing his thing. He was decorated as a true freshman All-American in 2020. He played in 10 games, starting 7. He recorded 20 tackles and ranked among the leaders in the SEC with 4 interceptions for 113 yards. So he also added 5 pass breakups for a total of 9 passes defended. So when it comes to freshman years, obviously we have to give the point to Eli Ricks. Now before we head to our sophomore season debate, let's recap the score. Out of high school, it was a draw. Freshman season, we gave it to Eli because Jaxson had limited targets and reps. And Eli was the All-American. But heading into your sophomore year, it was kind of vice versa, and each person kind of flipped when it came to productivity and playing time. Now heading into a sophomore season, Jaxson was named the starter at the slot receiver position. Even though Jameson Williams transferred to Alabama, he still had to share the spotlight with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. But he actually became the alpha dog towards the end of the season. Jaxson established the new single season record for receptions, which was 95, yards, which was 1,606 receiving yards, and receptions per game at 7.3, and yards per game at 123.5. He caught 60 passes for 958 yards over the final 5 games of the season. So as the season went on, Jaxson started getting more and more traction, and seeing that both Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson were first-round draft picks and Jaxson became the alpha dog goes to show you how talented he truly is. Moving on to Eli Ricks' sophomore year. He was pretty much hurt all year. He played in 6 games, recorded 11 total tackles with 1 interception and 1 PBU. And after the season, Eli actually hit the transfer portal and transferred from LSU to Alabama. But seeing the stats and the productivity, we have to give the sophomore season to Jaxson Njigba. So recapping our score, high school, those guys had a draw. They both was 5-stars. Freshman year, we gave it to Eli. He was All-American. Sophomore year, we gave to Jaxson Njigba. He was All-American and broke multiple records, even sharing the field with 2 future first-round NFL draft picks. So the score is 1-1 and 1 draw. And now both guys are heading into their true junior season. And like we said, Eli Ricks, he's with a new team, new coach, new defensive scheme. So we don't know how he'll necessarily play out, but he's playing under Nick Saban, and he's the #1 ranked cornerback returner in all of college football. So we're pretty sure he's going to start and do his thing. On the other hand, you got Jaxson Njigba, who's already been in that offense for 2 years going on year 3. Last year, he had crazy numbers. The sky's the limit for Jaxson next year. As of right now, both guys are future NFL first rounders. And who I got in this matchup, whether it's Eli Ricks or Jaxson Njigba, it's tough. Both were 5 stars. One had a crazy freshman year while the other had a crazy sophomore year. I think the edge might go to Jaxson just because he's in the same offense. He has the same quarterback, and they can pick up things right where they left off last year, while Eli Ricks is in a new defensive scheme, has new coaches, has new teammates. But the talent is still there. So, I don't know. Comment below, who are you taking in this first versus? Are you taking Eli Ricks or Jaxson Njigba? Comment below your thoughts. I'm interested to see what you guys say. And while you're at it, also comment below which other matchup would you see, whether it's another wide receiver versus another DB, or a running back versus a linebacker, or even an offensive lineman versus a defensive lineman. Comment below what versus you'd like to see next. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video. And like I always say, if you love college football or college football recruiting, go and subscribe to the channel right now because it's free. But until next time,